Today we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential election if an economic depression occurs. So I know I've done a video with an economic recession, and I just did a video if the economy is booming in the year 2020, and the electoral map looked very different, drastically different. This electoral map will look very similar to what we saw with the recession video, but it's also going to be a little bit more lenient towards the Democratic Party. Clearly, a depression is much worse than a recession, and also we haven't really experienced one since the 1900s. So if we do experience one in the modern age, that's going to be drastically harmful to America itself and also to the incumbent political party. So, of course, the Republican Party would be at their utmost worst standing at this point in time. If an economic depression occurs, there's absolutely no way the Republican Party could recover enough in time to fix the 2020 presidential election. They could rebound in 2024, future midterm elections or just presidential elections, but 2020 occurs and there's an economic depression right beforehand or even 2 years beforehand. It will not be beneficial to the Republicans whatsoever. So the former map with the recession, we had 333 electoral votes for the Democrats with 183 in the safe column, 62 in the likely column, and 88 in the leaning column. As for the Republicans or Donald Trump, 101 in the leaning column for him, which is a lot, 27 in the likely column, and only 77 in the safe column. So clearly, there's going to be a lot more states that are going to be in the leaning column for either political party, mainly because a number of these states are no longer going to be safe. With the economy booming video, Donald Trump was not able to flip states like Delaware or New Jersey or Connecticut or Rhode Island or even California and New York because a number of these states have become extremely partisan. The economy booming is essentially the same as if the Democrats had ensured or went under a recession during their presidency. This should be drastically different. I'm not going to flip a number of these states because they are still so partisan, and it's, again, not the 1900s where there could be states that could flip and there could be a 50-state sweep for either political party. We've come to a point where there will never be a 50-state sweep unless something very drastic happens, and this is not that drastic compared to what could happen. There could be a huge meltdown of an entire political party that could ensure a 50-state possibility of a sweep across the United States or a three-party system. But when it comes down to it right now, as we stand, states like Wyoming and Idaho are always going to be Republican states right now in our modern political era, and other states such as New York or California are not going red for a while. So when we look at this map, Democrats are not winning in states like Wyoming or Idaho for obvious reasons, and Republicans in the economic booming video are not winning in California or New York. We're going to start by filling in all the safe Democratic states. I already have the map up with the leaning, likely, and toss-up color swatch, but we're not using that. We're just using the safe states. So every state that Hillary Clinton won in 2016 would automatically become safe. A number of these races are going to lean drastically in the favor of the Democrats, and that's something you can expect. With a Republican incumbent and a depression occurs, it doesn't look good, especially since the Republican Party is typically the party that flaunts their economic ability to recover the United States or things like that. That would pretty much help the Republicans when it comes down to presidential elections. The economy is one of the main focuses by the Republican Party in 2008, then 2012, and then now 2016 when Trump won, now 2018 in the midterm elections. A lot of people on the Republican side, not the Democratic side, are pointing towards the economy, including the president himself, even though he's not up for re-election for another 2 more years. But we have 232 electoral votes for the Democrats, of course 0 for Trump for right now, but we're going to start filling in all the safe states for the president. So I'm not going to say there will be many. States like Oklahoma and Wyoming and Idaho, I would be comfortable enough to characterize these races as safe in the column for Donald Trump. Nebraska at large, I could say, would be safe. Along with that, I guess that's the first district. Utah, for right now, since we don't have a third-party candidate, I would say that one is safe. West Virginia, even though the Democrats do outrank Republicans in terms of party registration, we see West Virginia as going to Donald Trump in the safe column. And now we're pretty much at the area where we can start by filling in. There's probably some other safe states, and I'll get to them if I probably did miss some. I think I did miss some, and some of them are missed intentionally, but we're going to start by filling in all the likely states for the Democrats. So the Rust Belt, I would characterize as safe for the Democrats. That puts them over the top at 278 electoral votes. So keep in mind, an economic depression would be one of the worst things that could happen to the United States. Not necessarily to a political party or for a presidential election to be super drastic. Obviously, this would be a very, very drastic scenario, but it's not going to be something where there could be a 50-state sweep again, especially with our current political landscape. But we still have 28 electoral votes in the Trump column. In any other scenario before the year 2000, this would be a 50-state sweep for either political party. It's not. And obviously there will be some other states that will land in the Trump column, But right now, we see the closest states in 2016 now leaning in the column for the Democrats. States like Florida would become likely for the Democrats. States like North Carolina, I want to come back to. But I would actually, I'm comfortable enough putting that one in the leaning or likely column for right now. There's some other states on these sides for the Republican Party that I could actually characterize as likely in their column. States like South Dakota, I would characterize as likely for the GOP. When we go down to other states, maybe Arkansas would be likely. Louisiana would also be likely. Tennessee, I would characterize as likely, along with Kentucky. And when I say something is likely, we have only 3 colors, so I don't have a 4-color swatch. So I guess that's 6 to 14%, 14.9%, and then 15 and up is safe. So keep in mind these states could still go to the president by a considerable amount, even with an economic depression, but still these states will likely remain in the column for the Republican Party. We go over to states like Alabama. That one would become likely. Looking at the map, I guess that the second district would be likely for the Democrats, and the 3rd district would be likely for the GOP. This puts Trump at 74 electoral votes and the Democrats at 308 already. We go over to some other states. Now we can start filling in the leading states. States like Alaska, I'm actually going to put in the likely column for right now, but states like Texas, I'm comfortable enough putting that one in the leaning column. This one was also leaning, just so happens in the recession video, but again, I'm not going to put this one in the leaning column for the Democrats just yet. Texas is probably not going going blue, even in that type of scenario, but there will be some other states that will be going blue. States like Arizona, I would put in the leaning column for the Democrats. States like Georgia as well, I am comfortable enough to put that in the leaning column. North Carolina, I will put in the leaning column for the Democrats, even though I was comfortable enough to put that one in the likely column for the Democratic Party. Ohio and Iowa would be directly impacted by something like, a presidential, actually not a presidential election. This presidential election would definitely be impactful for the outcome of the economy, but the economy would be something that's very impactful for these 2 states. So Ohio and Iowa, I actually am going to put in the likely column for the Democratic Party. So that puts the Democrats at 374 electoral votes. Montana, North Dakota, and Kansas, I will all put in the leaning column. Mississippi and South Carolina, I will put in the leaning column as well. That 2nd district up in Maine, the economy was one of the main reasons why Donald Trump did so well. I can actually put this race back in the likely column for the Democrats. So this puts the Democrats at 375 electoral votes. Clearly one of their best standings at this point in time. Indiana and Missouri, I will narrowly land in the Republican column again, even though Indiana probably would be affected more than the state of Missouri right now. This electoral map definitely looks a little bit different than what you might expect. A lot of people may expect, a Democratic landslide, but before you go at yelling me in the comments for saying this is either too partisan for the Democrats or the Republican Party, keep in mind that this economic depression would not be beneficial for either political party. In this election, obviously, it's better for the Democrats, but also the economy, if that's down, a lot of other American businesses are going to suffer. Everyone would suffer, not just the Republicans because they are in power. It may seem that way when it comes down to the presidential election and how people vote, but still right now, where we stand, we can't characterize a number of these states as for the Democratic or Republican Party. A number of these states have become so partisan that even if an economic depression does occur, these states probably aren't going to let up their partisan beliefs. Indiana and Missouri, I'm actually going to move into the pure toss-up column along with the state of Texas for right now. You can obviously scroll back and just see where I had characterized them before, but now that I'm going through with it, states like Texas, Indiana, and Missouri were all leaning states in my recession video. Clearly, they would lean a little bit more to the left in this type of video, but still, when it comes down to it, I cannot fully characterize this race as either leaning for the GOP or leaning for the Democrats. I'm very conflicted about that. I lean in the favor of the president only to give him the benefit of the doubt, but also when it comes down to it, just looking at it from pure analyzation and just going through each state, I'm very comfortable with this map, not calling these 3 states. A lot of people are going to say, why aren't you calling this? You're just afraid to call it. Well, first of all, we're not in 2020 yet. The economy obviously isn't in a recession, so again, this is all speculation. But right now, these 3 states, I'm more comfortable leaning them in the pure toss-up column, probably with Mississippi in the likely column for right now. And that gives Trump a final total at 104 electoral votes. Not a lot, obviously. The Democrats at 375. I believe Bill Clinton did outperform that in either 1992 or 96. I would say 96. Yes, 96, because he got 370 in 92 and 370, either 8 or 9 in 1996, because only 2 presidents have underperformed in the re-election, and that was when it came down, if they won the re-election, that was Woodrow Wilson and President Obama. So 375 electoral votes for the Democratic Party, 278 in their safe column, which is very, very good, compared to 183 in the recession video, 55 in the likely column, and 62 in the likely column for the recession video, and 88 in the leaning column for the Democrats. There are now 42 leaning in the column in this video. 59 crucial toss-up electoral votes taken out of the map for either political party. 21 in the leaning column in this video, 101 in the recession video. 27 in the recession video in the likely column, 55 in the likely column in this video, and 77 safe electoral votes in the recession video, and only 28 safe electoral votes in this video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.